Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. I cannot believe we're even having this discussion. I think it's a joke. There's no way you should be signing Bryce Harper to this big extension. It would be foolish. I used the phrase organizational malpractice in the past, and I will use it again to apply it to this situation. It's outrageous. You do not sign someone to an even bigger deal than you already did when there's still this much time left on it. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. I think it's foolish. We'll talk about it all. Hey, before we dive into it, though, we are on a mission to continue growing Broads Media in every possible way. So if you're enjoying this mess, make sure you subscribe and leave a thumbs up. But real importantly, we have more Broads Media content coming your way. Coffee with Broads is back starting March 28th, which is opening day, by the way. Join the Broads Media membership here on YouTube for $4.99 a month, and you will have access to Coffee with Broads live streams every Monday and Thursday at 11 a.m. There's also a Broads Media Discord channel, too, that is currently active, where we communicate live when games are going on. It's a blast to really communicate in real time. Nothing's going to change with the current model. This is just an added bonus if you want more in your life. I'm looking forward to starting Coffee with Broads live streams March 28th, and make sure if you're interested, you grab a membership today. The information is all down below in the description. No, you do not sign him to some massive extension right now, or an extension in general. He said he wants to play into his 40s. He wants to play at 45 years old. Dude, you got a violent swing, and I don't know if he's going to make it that long. What is a 43-year-old Bryce Harper going to look like? And obviously, they're going to try and demand this now, him and Scott Boras, because if they wait until he's 35, 36, 37 years old, then they will not have the leverage. They won't have the power. He's the man. He's the absolute face of this thing. So, of course, John Middleton will definitely listen a lot more now compared to so many years down the road. But that's my point. So many years down the road. We have you until 38. It's crazy to me to think about this. I actually despise it. I really do. And I love Bryce Harper. Who doesn't? If you're a fan of baseball in this town, you love Bryce Harper. He plays into the fans. He wears the Philly fanatic stuff. He rocks the headbands. He puts on the cleats. And then we believed originally it was all about what? Just really kind of connecting with the city. But then it became organic and it felt real. Like, no, he actually is obsessed with the Philadelphia culture and him being here and on. That's why when he signed the original 13-year contract, he was in love with the fact that there was no opt-out. Oh, look, I am dedicated and I want to be here so damn bad. Well, if that was once your selling point to us as a city, this is almost disingenuous. It's what it sounds like to me, even though I love Bryce Harper. And there are a bunch of fans in this city right now that just think you give him whatever you want. Or, excuse me, you give him whatever he wants. And I don't care if you're Dr. J. I don't care if you're Joel Embiid. I don't care if you're Brian Dawkins. I don't care if you're Jason Kelsey. It is a bad, bad, bad way to run your franchise if you're just going to allow this to happen. This can cause problems down the road. I don't want to hear anybody who's okay with it today and just open up a blank check to be angry that you're not going after a specific free agent because Bryce Harper's still locked in for $20+ million at age 43 years old, where he can only make it 40 games a year because he's so broken down. You can't have it both ways. And how many 40+-year-old dudes do you think is in the batter's box raking at will? Oh, but the DH, stop it. You're going to have to filter it. So many different pieces over at the DH position. That's not the proper way to build your roster later on. And you should be saying, well, or some would be saying, well, what are you worried about that now for if the window is to go win? Well, if the window's to go win currently today, this dude's locked up until he's 38 years old. It is about today. Yeah, it is about today. I am worried about winning a World Series with Rob Thompson, with Trey Turner, with JT Realmuto, who apparently, if you listen to Matt Gelb, has incredibly reshaped his entire hitting and his stance, and that will be a big-time difference maker for what maybe he could be this year, and that would be insanity, right? We debate all the time, did they get better? I bring up, yeah, well, Trey Turner won't suck for a whole entire three-quarter of a season, and Bryce Harper will be available and not have to worry about an elbow surgery and recovering. So just from that in-house, you improve. If we could get something with JT Realmuto to splash even more on the offensive side, and we'll play the audio. We have it here. He joined the best show ever. I've heard of it once or twice. And, yeah, I thought it was an interesting little nugget that he threw out there. But I am worried about the now. I can't wrap my head around. Like, that this is insane. This is insane. It's insane. I truly deep down believe that it's insane. Are they mad that the market passed them by? This is where I'm trying to figure out exactly. When Scott Boras and Bryce Harper communicated in the early stages of the free agency, when it was a battle between Manny Machado and Bryce and who's going to get the big money, they both are, but where are they going to sign? And I wonder if they kind of sat down and said, all right, we're going to live with this no opt-out thing, but a few years in, I got you. Don't worry. As if this is part of their plan. If you were a fly on the wall when Scott and Bryce were kind of discussing how they were going to operate, this was in the plan, and that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Hey, just get there, get established. You want your family to be there forever. You want to really build a bond with the fans, but don't worry, I got you, because some of these frauds below you, all right, some of these nobodies in this league, these teams are going to be throwing around $40 million AAV, and you'll be sitting there at 25, 26, and that's a disgrace. You're my client. I'm getting the best for you and your family. And then he gets brainwashed, and he thinks about all the money, and he goes, okay, yes, sir, I trust you. And of course, Scott Boras will make it happen because he's Scott Boras. Now, there's some interesting audio on this front, too. One by Dave Dombrowski that really is an eyebrow opener and makes me wonder, is this going to happen under Dave Dombrowski's watch? So first, we'll take a listen to Bryce. Bryce gave you a very standard, cliche, player speak type of message. But here's Bryce Harper on his contract over the last week. This is him.
I think there's been communication there, between myself and Dave, and also Scott and Dave as well. Obviously, I want to be here for a long time, and we'll see what happens.
All right, so that wasn't anything special. I just wanted you to be able to hear him from the horse's mouth, if you will. That's sort of where he stands. But this one I love, and this was back in February. I believe it was February 7th. This was Dave Dombrowski speaking with Joe DeCamera and John Ritchie on WIP.
Should he expect a new deal or not?
Well, I would not get into any contract situations publicly, just never really do that. We'll say I have the utmost respect for Bryce, tremendous players, did everything for our club and the team and the city. So he's the type of guy you want to have. He's in a situation where you can always desire or want, anybody can, anything that they would like. We end up making business decisions that sometimes are difficult, but one way I would just say it without getting into any particulars is that we're thrilled that he's on board. We know he's at Philly for 8 more years, and there's a lot of time to digest things, but it's a situation where we're thrilled that he's on board. And again, you can desire and want anything you would like, but I think it's also the apparent, knowing Bryce, when he gets to spring training under any circumstances, he's ready to go, and you're going to get 100% from him in every regard.
What a pro! What a pro Dave Dombrowski is. I don't know if you can handle that any cleaner than Dave just did, but that didn't sound like a guy who's automatically giving in. No? I mean, look, you could want whatever you want to want, but when Bryce shows up to spring training, you know he's locked in. That almost sounds like to me that, okay, wishful thinking, bud. I know Bryce is so dedicated. I know he's so dialed that the second we get him to Florida and the second seeing he's on the field again, taking BP. He's out playing first base, getting ground balls, motivated for the boys, and to make sure that he's properly prepared for a season. All that contract stuff's going to go out the window with him. Didn't it sound like Dave Dombrowski's not just doing it? Now, John Middleton can override and overpower, but this blends right into a report that happened over the last 24 hours, and it was essentially about how much the Phillies were in on Yamamoto. They even put together this package. Bryce was a part of that, so he made a feature in it, and they were willing to spend more than the Dodgers, but the Dodgers were the team of Yamamoto's choice, and that's where he wanted to be. He really did connect with that logo and that city, and that's what it meant to him. He had all his life growing up, so he ends up choosing the Dodgers. The reason that's significant with this is now what do they do after they swing and miss on Yamamoto? Because there's a couple of statements that really does tell us. One, they feel they can improve. They feel that they can get better, and they're very willing to spend the money on that. But will they do it just on anything? Will they spend money just to spend money? I'd make the argument that if you're willing to go super big on Yamamoto, you should be willing to go in on Jordan Montgomery. And hell, even Blake Snell, even though I don't really see any connections or any reports that those two parties are in dialogue or in discussion. But if you're willing to go fat bag long-term Yamamoto on a not even proven item, and I think he'll be great, but he's not proven at this level, then you can't sign Montgomery for a couple years to help bolster this starting rotation. That does seem a little flawed to me. But in this piece on the Inquirer, what Dave decided we do, and I agree with him, is save the powder, John Middleton said. He said, if you don't spend it now, you could always spend it in July and maybe make a better, more aggressive trade, and you've got the money to pay for it. And John Middleton's trying to get this thing rolling where he wants to build a dynasty. That's the new phrase from the ownership, is I'm ready to go build a dynasty. And as much as I love that, how about we get one? Okay, let's go build one. Because even the best time of my life with Phillies baseball during that 08 run, and you could make the argument that was a dynasty-like, it was a dynasty-like built organization. They got back to the World Series after winning it in 08, unfortunately falling to the Yankees. But, you won one then, and that was like the best stretch we've seen in Phillies baseball, and you won one. You won one. So before we get into dynasty mode, if they were winning 3 World Series during that span, then okay, I want to go get back to that dynasty. Let's get one before we go into the dynasty talk. He's willing to listen to Dave Dombrowski, though, and it seems like Dave Dombrowski has his head more locked in than John Middleton does. John Middleton's getting excited, all right? He's getting knee-jerk reaction. He's Nick Sirianni on the sidelines. He doesn't know how to control his emotions at all. And Dave's the steady hand, as I shake my hand heavily and my whole body as I talk. But Dave Dombrowski's the steady hand in all of this. I hope that he does the right thing here. And my gut tells me they're going to work something out because they want to keep Bryce Harper happy. If we weigh the pros and cons here, if you do it just to keep him happy, well, then your superstar and the face of your franchise is super excited, and there's that. The downfall is, does he get angry? Is he going to get mad? Is he going to start wanting to fight people at the front office and then be like, yo, dude, what are you guys doing? Does he get so aggravated and so pissed off that there's turmoil in the Phillies clubhouse? I doubt it gets there. But I'm just saying, those are what the possibilities are. You sign him, but then that sets a precedent, too. Hear me out. Trey Turner plays great ball. Great ball. Well, dude, 3-4 years in. Nope. Yeah, I want to play ball till I'm 54. I want to play ball till I'm 55. I'm not showing up to spring training until you hand over the dough. So I know even though I'm 37, I can play until I'm 49. That sounds silly, but doesn't this? You might mock me and laugh. No one's going to do that. Is anyone at age 31, 32 going to demand for a contract or ask for a contract be 45 when they signed a 13-year, $330 million deal? Of course not. This is la-la land. I mean, we are in make-believe world. We're playing with Monopoly money, it feels like. Of course. Of course that can happen. The precedent could be set, and somebody else thinks that they have the power to do this down the road, even if your name's not Bryce Harper. Could I live in a world where they walk through this together and they talk through it and maybe they come to their senses, whatever that means, and they say, 40 years old, you're signed to 38, we'll put you to 40. It won't be 43. It won't be 44. It won't be 45. I give you to 40 years old. You get 2-year extension, and we're done. We're not doing this shit again. I'm not dealing with it. Done. It would never go like that. But moral of the story is if they do settle on 40 with a more realistic tone. Bryce, we love you. We know you love Philadelphia. We're excited to extend you for 2 more years and get you through 40, and we'll see what happens after that. Could I live with it? Sure. Would that be organizational malpractice? No, I wouldn't go to that extreme if they give their superstar, and I'm rolling my eyes if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all your podcasting platforms, which, by the way, make sure you leave a 5-star rating and a review. It goes a super long way. Just type in Sports Talk with Bro. It's bada bing, bada boom. You know what I'm saying? But I'm rolling my eyes. It's not malpractice for a 2-year extension. Silly, but not to the point where I don't think that they have their head on straight, for whatever that's worth. So those are kind of my thoughts on the whole situation at hand with Bryce. It's ludicrous. What else is ludicrous is how great HelloFresh is. They are giving you free breakfast for life. Don't let recipe boredom strike, because HelloFresh has more options than ever before. Dig into their biggest menu yet with over 45 dinner options to choose from weekly, and even more market-on add-ons that suit any lifestyle. They're pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes that get delivered right to your doorstep if you're unfamiliar with what HelloFresh provides. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and HelloFresh agrees. In fact, they're giving all subscribers free breakfast for life. That means you'll enjoy a totally free breakfast item with every single HelloFresh delivery. Now that's worth waking up early for. Go to HelloFresh.com/BroadsFree and use code BroadsFree for free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/BroadsFree with code BroadsFree. That's why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. So back to the Yamamoto front real quick. That's impressive to me. That they're still applying pressure in free agency. But if you don't land the biggest fish, would you label stupid money for Jordan Montgomery? I wouldn't. I would say that's a smart way to allocate your cash. Are you serious? Now Christopher Sanchez is sort of an extra starter. And I remember talking to Scott Lauber a little bit earlier last year during spring training. Actually, that convo bled into the start of the season because it was the Phillies and the Yankees that have used the least amount of starting pitching through the first month or so of the year. And when you see what teams go through, how many starters you actually have to utilize in the era of bullpen games and extra rest and giving guy a 6th day to get going, whatever it is, you need X amount of starters. And the Phillies and Yankees are both using such a small amount. You figured at some point it might even itself out and whatever. I mean, it's just very important. So to have Sanchez after a Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Montgomery, Ranger, Taijuan Walker starting 5, that is starting pitching. That is maybe one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball level of stuff. So if you can incorporate the label, one of the best pitching staffs in the entire game, if it's not one, it's two. If it's not two, it's a top 3 rotation in baseball. If you have that, I wouldn't call that stupid money if that's what can be the result of opening up your checkbook. So you're willing to go the extra mile for Yamamoto, and you probably should be. That dude is apparently generational, and I'm excited to see what happens with him when he's able to take the ball. I don't want to see him succeed because I don't want to see the Dodgers win by any means. But still, you should be more willing to attack a starter if I know what you were willing to attack prior. And are you okay with them swinging and missing and then staying put? Does it make you feel any better? Think about it. John Middleton isn't playing around. Even though they didn't land Yamamoto, does that put you in a better position mentally? It kind of does for me. It does. For whatever reason. They didn't get the guy. They didn't get the guy. So why should I feel better? I don't know. It's just I know the approach. I know the people in place are willing and dedicated and just as diehard as all we are. I know that by watching John Middleton sit behind batting practice and smile from ear to ear. Just the happiest dude in the world, right? That's enough to tell me that he's obsessed as it is. Okay, so I brought up Matt Gelb and his interview on the Best Show Ever. Take a listen to what he said about JT Realmuto. I thought this was fascinating.
JT Realmuto played 135 games last year. His numbers were down. He went into some fairly large slumps last year. Do you expect Garrett Stubbs to play a little bit more this year to get him some more rest?
I don't expect Stubbs to play more. I've written a pretty big story about JT that'll be in The Athletic Wednesday. I do think, though, that you're going to see him look really different at the plate. The swing is going to look different. Stance is going to be different. There was a clear hole in his swing last year, and we saw pitchers exploit it. He could not handle that the inside pitch, the inner half of the plate. He could not handle it. And, if you go back and look at the numbers and if you look at some of the swings, he was chasing. I mean, he had the worst offensive season he's had since he was a rookie. And naturally, with a 32-year-old catcher, he turns 33 in March. What are you going to wonder? It's like, okay, is this guy at the end? Has he reached the end? And physically, I don't think he has. And you talk to everybody here, and I don't think anyone thinks that physically he is declining. He missed too many pitches last year. He had a career high in strikeout rate. He's got to be better at the plate. And I think that he believes that he has found a hole in his swing that they've corrected. And they knew that it was there last year. He just couldn't make the adjustment during the season. He spent a lot of time this offseason. He started hitting in November, earlier than he's ever hit. And there's a lot of little details that'll be in the story, but I do think that he thinks he's fixed something, that it's not a good decline. This is something that he could correct, and we'll see.
Wow, how about that? I gotta be honest with you, I loved it. That gave me some goosebumps. I envision a world where JT can reach a different level offensively. I truly believe that this organization has rebuilt multiple different bats and nobody with the ceiling of JT. I guess Alec Boehm. Alec Boehm started to pull the ball more, and you're working on different things, right? What Alec Boehm had to do is not the same from what JT Realmuto has to do, but that's the specialty of Kevin Long. That's why you appreciate his level of expertise. He works with these guys. If I can get Rojas to bunt better, we're seeing videos of him bunting down the third base side, and that's getting the juices flowing. And, you think about Brandon Marsh and the caliber of hitter he is, and they're working on Bryson Stott to be more aggressive on 0-0 counts. His grand slam lefty-lefty, playoff grand slam lefty-lefty was on an 0-0 count. They want him to be more aggressive. They're working with all these guys. But, man, if JT, and if you could get Marsh going and players like that, and Marsh is a good MLB player, JT Realmuto's ceiling, though, I would say is higher. If you can work with the Marsh, with the Rojas, with the Pache, then think about what you can squeeze out of a JT when you figure out some of the deficiencies. And, sometimes I laugh because I don't understand. And I do. I'm not a jerk off here, but just work with me here for a second. I was watching something on TikTok the other day about a golfer, right? And he was talking about his golf swing. And these are pro golfers, by the way. It's someone on the tour. It's the name's escaping me. It's not a big name guy, but he's on the tour and he's swinging. He's talking about how he's changing his mechanics and he has to change certain things with his hips and how he comes through the ball when he's swinging. And I'm like, It's crazy hearing him talk about how much he works on changing the swing. I'm always trying to change my swing. I'm like, you're playing in the PGA. Like, you would think your swing works, right? This is what you do. This is what you do very well. You're in pro golf. You're on the tour. The more you tweak what you were doing so well, you know what I'm saying? It's like, how much can a golfer change their swing, change their this, change their that? You're good. You were great. It got you there. What are you changing with your swing? You're already hitting 68s, 66s, 67s. That makes sense to me in my mind. Well, with baseball, you would think this is what you do. JT Realmuto's been in the major leagues for 1 billion years. How could it fall apart one year? How could you lose sight? How can you change your entire stride? How can you do this with your approach? Right, the toe tapping. Bryce Harper with the toe tap or the 2-strike approach. Bryson Stott, no swing. It's interesting to me more than anything else. I do understand. I do. Trust me, I do. I get it. But it's just interesting to me on how that whole thing works. And I'm excited to watch JT Realmuto is sort of my message at the end of the day. And, you know, the Phillies definitely have a target on their back. And it cracks me up because Bob Nightingale of USA Today put out a whole piece about how the NL champion Arizona Diamondbacks know they have a target on their back, but they think that they'll be even better in 2024. Who's worried about the Diamondbacks? Do you feel that there are teams out there that made moves this offseason to make sure that they jump the Diamondbacks? Do you think the Dodgers signed Shohei Ohtani and them? Like, whew, those Diamondbacks, even though they're in the same damn division? No way. I can make the argument. Well, now that the Dodgers got their offseason going, the Dodgers are in a different world, but this is an outlier type offseason for them. Let's take away Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto for 1 second, and it was just another standard, generic 100-win Dodgers team that you don't know exactly what they're going to be in the postseason except for maybe a failure, and maybe Dave Roberts screws up or something along those lines, or Clayton Kershaw doesn't execute the way that he needs to, something along the traditional Dodgers road that we constantly see, right? With the Braves winning the NL East nonstop and then being a powerhouse throughout the regular season and all, the target would be on the Phillies' back. Nobody wants to see the Phillies. Nobody wants to come to Citizens Bank Park. I'd make the argument that in a normal world, in a normal year, without the Dodgers having Shohei Ohtani come to town, and then a wild, absurd prospect in Yamamoto, and I'm calling him a prospect because I haven't seen him do it on this stage yet. I'm not doubting that he can. It's just different. You're playing in the majors now. It's not the same league. I think he'll be great. I think he'll be excellent. I wanted the Phillies to sign him. I'm not knocking it, but this is an otherworldly type of offseason for the Dodgers. So now I would assume that it's chasing the Dodgers and they have a big target on their back, bigger than the Phillies. But outside of those type of moves, that's the type of moves it takes to move the needle off of the Phillies more. But realistically, Bob Nightingale, the pressure, and not really the pressure, but the target is on the Phillies' backs. That's for damn sure. There's more pressure on the Dodgers. There's actually more pressure on the Braves than the Phillies, but that doesn't mean the Phillies don't have pressure, damn it. You don't get to another World Series this season, I'm going to be pissed. So that's just real. There's pressure, but not as much as the Dodgers, not as much as the Braves, and the target is not on the Diamondbacks. It's probably on not wanting to face the Phillies. If they could close their eyes, whatever team is being able to look at the projected schedule in the postseason, if they could somehow find a way to not have to play the Phillies, I bet you they would. If they had to go to Truist Park and play a 100-win Braves team or the Phillies, they might pick the Braves. If they had to play the Dodgers, maybe they would try and run away from the Dodgers. I don't know. Maybe they would. And at that point, you know, it's like a choose one of two evils kind of thing because you're probably going to get your ass kicked regardless. How about that? All right, everybody. Those are my thoughts. I love talking ball. You know it. It's been fun last couple of days. We'll continue it all. So I haven't used any of the Anytime Hotline calls yet, even though a few days ago I did call for them. And the reason is because I got so much to say right now on some of these topics that I'm getting out my original thoughts, and then we'll do a pod where it's strictly phone calls. So if you haven't given your phone call yet or a text message, 856-442-9805, you can do that now. And then, you know, I'm going to package all of them up for a pod because I'm in ball mode right now. All right, everybody. everybody. I love you guys to death. You know it, and we'll be talking very, very soon. By the way, those calls could be like an Ask Me Anything thing. It could be about the rotation. It could be about the batting order. It could be about free agency, Dombrowski, Rob Thompson, you name it. It's sort of like a smorgasbord of Phillies topics. Ask Me Anything vibe. I love you guys to death. You know it. Thank you all so much, and we'll be talking very, very soon.